Today in Baku, Sergei Karjakin and Peter Svidler played a tiebreak to decide the winner of the FIDE World Cup tournament. So it's been an extraordinary final so far, with Peter Svidler winning the first two games and Sergei Karjakin somehow managing to win the next two games. So today they were due to play two 25-minute games. First of all, somebody very wise once said that you should never really analyse blitz games, and the same might be said of rapid play games as well. You know, the players are very, very tired, and there were lots and lots of blunders and mistakes in these games. So what I'd like to do, I don't want to go through everything that was played today. I'm going to concentrate on what was really good. And this was the first 25-minute game that was played. Karjakin with the white pieces. This was a crazy game in itself, with Svidler having a good position. Karjakin fought back, and you can see that Svidler has just transposed into an endgame with bishops of opposite colour. And this very often gives the defender good drawing chances, because you can blockade on one colour complex, in this case the light squares. So although Karjakin is a pawn up, there's a very sound blockade on these squares. But let's see how he dealt with this. So it's clear that the white king isn't going to make any more progress on the king side, so he switched in the other direction. So he starts making the long journey over. Of course, it's significant that black can't actually create a passed pawn on the king side, because that bishop on d8 was controlling g5. So that kingside pawn majority of blacks is completely crippled. Well, there was just a little bit of shuffling going on. Of course, this was at the end of a long game, and they were both running short of time. So with each of these moves, the players gain 10 seconds on the clock, so it helps the time situation. Okay, so here is the first important moment. So Karjakin is trying to crawl round this way, and black can try to attempt to stop this with bishop c4. So if the king goes to a6, then you have b4 discovered check. That's not too clever for white. But in fact, this position, well, after bishop f6 or bishop g5 or wherever, this is Zugzwang. That means that however black plays, he's forced to compromise. So if the bishop goes back this way, then the king can continue its journey. Or if, let me see, or if the bishop goes this way, the e-pawn can advance. And if the king plays to d5, then king b6. Or if the king goes to b7, now this is nice, you play e6. And when this is taken, king takes b5. And now white has a mobile pawn duo in the centre of the board, and actually this simply can't be blockaded. So c4 and d5 comes, and then the king will come over, perhaps back to d4, and then the pawns advance to c6, and so on. In fact, those pawns just roll through. Svidler waited with bishop e6. So the king came round, so black can just sit there, and the king in a moment. So first a bit of shuffling from white. The king came to b8. So if the bishop moves this way, then the king would very much like to come over here to attack g6 and support the e-pawn. Okay, a little bit of shuffling. So Karjakin just waiting to see what to do. I'm going to come back to this position at the end, actually. But Svidler is waiting. And here, it looks as though black has a complete blockade, but there's a beautiful breakthrough that Karjakin found. And I think to find this in a rapid game is really pretty special. He played d5 check. Now, it doesn't really matter how this is taken. Svidler took with the bishop, but let's just have a quick look at what happens if king takes. Well, now you can see that the white king manages to break through. Even this is still a little bit tricky. Let me show you the main line. So the king comes in and takes on g6. And now here is a tricky moment. If king takes pawn, then the bishop checks, and this is a draw. This is a complete blockade. White simply can't break that one down. So in this position after the check, the king should come back to f6, threatening e6. So the bishop blockades, and now king f7, and this is zugzwang. Really nice position. So if the bishop checks, then king g6, then you can take on h5 and the h-pawn goes through. What else? Well, if the king moves away, then of course e6. If the bishop goes back to c8, then king g6, and there's no bishop e8 check. You need to play your bishop to the 9th rank, and you take here. So, yeah, beautiful zugzwang position. Okay, in the game, bishop takes was played. But that meant the king could come through on the 8th rank. Still some nice moments here. So the king comes over and e6. And before advancing the pawn or taking on g6, the bishop is redeployed around to a3. So this is very nice. So still controlling d6. And after e7, and now the pawn is protected, and then white can simply take on g6. And here Svidler resigned. If bishop d1 to hold the h-pawn, then king f7, and the pawn will go through. Or if you don't protect the pawn, then the white king takes and the h-pawn goes through. Now that was a superb endgame. I'm going to go back to this position. On Chess-Based News, Alejandro Ramirez pointed out a move which seems to lead to a draw. Very nice defence for black, beautiful defence. Black plays f4. So bishop f4, for example. Okay, black waits. And in this case, after d5 check, now there's a huge difference in this position because the bishop controls e6, it also protects g6, and there is no way through. So basically, in giving up this pawn, the king and bishop are both able to cover the e6 square, so white simply can't advance that pawn. It's a really lovely pawn sacrifice. In a rapid play game, of course, you know, these kind of subtleties, one's never going to find them. But I wanted to show these subtleties because, well, they're very, very beautiful. I think it's a really instructive endgame, and I think with this victory, I think we can see Karjakin at his absolute best. His endgame technique, as he's shown throughout this tournament, is absolutely superb. Now, I don't propose to go through all the games of this tiebreak. In fact, Svidler won the next 25-minute game. Then they played two 10-minute games. Svidler won the first of those 10-minute games. Dreadful game from Karjakin. Then Karjakin won the next 10-minute game. A total collapse from Svidler. Dreadful, dreadful game. So then they went into blitz games, 5 minutes on the clock. And, well, it was just dreadful. Let me show you the very end of one of these games. So in this was the first 5 minute game. Karjakin with white is the exchange down, so Svidler has a queen and a rook against queen and knight. Should be winning for black. In this position, unbelievably, Svidler played his king to g8, allowing queen takes rook. But there were blunders all the way through this game, so this is why I'm not going to show you much from these blitz games. And Karjakin won the next blitz game. What I would say is that, I mean, obviously both players are incredibly tired. I mean, completely punch drunk. You know, it reminds me of two aging boxers. You know, in the 12th round, just kind of reeling around the ring, hardly able to land a decent punch. But what shone through in this match was that Karjakin's endgame technique is superb, but also how cool he was in defence. You know, you saw him in every game completely focused, completely concentrated, and that's ultimately what pulled him through, not just in this match, but in many of the matches in this tournament. So, in the end, I think we can say Sergei Karjakin was a worthy winner of the FIDE World Cup. Well, moving on, looking forward to the Candidates Tournament, because this is really what this tournament is all about. There are rumours that it might be held in the United States in 2016. According to the FIDE president, Kirzan Ilyumzhinov, he thinks there's a 50-50 chance of it taking place in the States. But also today, there were rumours that Azerbaijan, who of course hosted this World Cup, Azerbaijan could very well be interested in making a bid for the Candidates Tournament. So we'll see. Anyway, thanks very much for watching these videos and reports throughout the tournament. And of course, do check out the Powerplay Chess YouTube channel for more of these reports and all kinds of other chess goodies. Thanks for watching.